Hi, my name's Andre Van Eymeren, and I head up the Centre for Building Better Community. We're a hub for applied research and holistic change. One of the things we've been working on is a framework to help us address some of the most pressing issues that we find in our communities and cities. Issues like homelessness, poverty, unemployment, and policies that exclude some of our most vulnerable. For me, this framework came out of a long history in community development when I began asking the question, what are we actually developing the community towards? And I thought this idea of flourishing, it captivated me, this idea of what it would mean to live life well. And so this framework has come out of that understanding and has also been connected with some of the sustainable development goals and other things around resilient cities. So I'm going to briefly run you through the framework, and in other videos, members of the CBBC team are going to go into more depth about each element of the framework. So let me take you through step by step. And as you're thinking about the framework, think about the individual in the context of their community. So often when we want to do work with individuals, we forget that there is a whole community of people around them. And sometimes that community is sick. So we can do great work with an individual to bring them to a point of health, physical, emotional, even spiritual health. But then if they go back into a community that's sick, then they're just going to get sick themselves once again. And so we believe this framework can actually help heal our sick communities. So let me run you through. Basic needs. It's obvious, isn't it? Food, shelter, safety, and some would even say love and companionship. You know, in some places of the world where I work, they call transport a basic need as well. So this can be one that can be adapted in different ways in different places. And that's one of the brilliant things that we find about the framework is its adaptability. Now, as we think about our communities, what would it be like if we all felt that we belonged to the place where we live? Belonging to the next aspect, belonging to place and to people. What difference would it make for us? What would our sense of ownership be like if we felt like we truly belonged in the places we live? And if we truly belonged to our tribe, to the people that are connected with us, both in the locality where we're living, but also further abroad. It might be in our workplace or it might be online. But what would a sense of belonging look like in those communities, in those groups? The next aspect is contribution. Each of us have something of value to give back. And I don't know about you, but I'm actually happiest when I'm giving something, when I'm teaching, or when I'm looking after someone. This idea of what we have inside is valuable, and we need those opportunities to share it. So often in the work that we do in some of our most poorest and vulnerable communities, we don't give them the opportunity to contribute, and that's actually caused a lot of harm. A aspect of the framework that's related but slightly different is this idea of being able to live out of purpose. Now, when we talk about purpose, it's not necessarily that striving for something outside of ourselves, that one goal, that if we miss it, we've kind of missed our life's purpose. But it's more about discovering what's in the inside, our authentic self, the values that we hold true, and being able to have the opportunity to live out of those values. And for many people all over the world, they don't have that opportunity, and it takes away from what it means to live well. The next aspect of the framework is this idea of lament and celebration, that we would have the opportunity to hold both grief and joy. We recognise that grief and joy are basic to the human condition. And how do we go at expressing our own grief individually, but also our communal grief? One of the things I often talk about is that where I live in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, we need to lament that we have quite often not been a safe place for women. A number of women have been killed just trying to get home at night. That's something for communal lament. Similar to the situations that we've been going through with COVID-19 recently. The idea that we've been in isolation, we've been outside of our normal rhythms, that many in our community, some of the most vulnerable, have died because of the disease. We need the opportunities to lament or to grieve that. On the flip side, We need the opportunity to celebrate, to recognise milestones, both as individuals and again as a community. As we come together and look to improve our community, there'll be lots of opportunities to celebrate. In one of the communities I work with in Africa, they decided to have a time where they were going to put a few hours into cleaning up the community. And at the end of that time, they could tangibly look and see what had been achieved and celebrate that achievement. The last aspect of the framework, though there's not a linear order in this, you could talk about the framework in any way that you like, but just the way that we tend to talk about it, is a growing sense of spirituality or meaning. Now, this is a really interesting one. For many Australians, we don't feel that we have much of a spirituality. But often this idea of spirituality gets linked to religion, and we're wanting to distinguish that. We believe that we are made for things outside of ourselves, something other, something bigger. Some relate to that as a deity. Others, it's a sense of meaning in giving themselves away, living for other people. And so we'll explore in other videos more of what this means. So it's a very quick run through the framework. Basic needs, belonging to place and to people, the ability to contribute, living a life of purpose, lament and celebration, and a growing sense of meaning or spirituality. We're convinced that this framework can play a key part in creating solutions to some of the most complex issues that we find in our community, both at a policy level, at a practitioner level, and also amongst us who are members of community. We look forward to sharing more with you.